The thing is not about a feature, okay? It's deeper than that. It's about the love that we fans have for Nicki Minaj, because when we're talking about our idol or somebody that we look up to or somebody that we've been looking up to since we were young or since we were kids, it hits a deep spot in our heart when we felt like, damn, why haven't we worked with Nicki Minaj? Like, why haven't we gotten, why haven't we put something together? Like, yeah, we love each other and she shows us massive love and we appreciate it to the fullest. Don't ever underestimate me of anybody for appreciating the support that Nicki Minaj gives me, because she's been supporting me for the past year. If it was about a feature, I wouldn't even be worried about following or showing love or any of that. I have continued to do that because it's genuine, and that is where my heart is at with Nicki Minaj.
Hi everyone, it's Blessing Makosha and your favorite female rap hip-hop head. Follow at Blessing Makosha on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, wherever you may find me, to find my fly fashions and my general thoughts on hip-hop and things that I'm listening to. And if you'd like to be part of a rap and hip-hop community dedicated to talking about the culture, free from misogynoir, free from clout chasing, and focused on the skill of writing and rapping bars, then make sure you join Patreon, where we'll have exclusive live streams, listening parties, and discussions. And also join our Twitter community, where we will be having general day-to-day conversations about female rap, sharing things that interest us, and getting thoughts and opinions from each other. Follow no_ghostwriter on Twitter and Instagram so you can be part of the community and not miss out on any of our community events and merchandise. Today I want to talk about why female rappers are so thirsty for a Nicki Minaj feature, what this says about Nicki's brand longevity, and what this says about her relationship with the music industry as a whole. Make sure that you like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. This helps me work with the algorithm, which has absolutely no love for the girl, and also ensures that as many people as possible can get to see my content and learn more about the queen of rap, Nicki Minaj. So for some background and context, why are we even having this conversation about why the Nicki Minaj feature is so important to female rappers? Well, it seems at this point that the Nicki Minaj feature is an essential for female rappers on the rise. They all seem to consult Nicki first when looking for someone to feature with, and they consult her above all others when they're trying to boost their profile through artist collaborations. We've seen almost every female rapper who wants to touch the mainstream hip-hop space either get, request, or ask for a Nicki feature when they are introducing themselves to the world. That includes her haters. However, past experience with Cardi B following Motorsport, make sure that you check out my video on the Nicki Minaj hate train. It is my most popular video on the channel and a seriously comprehensive breakdown of what happened with Nicki Minaj in the music industry between 2017 and 19, and what role Cardi B played as essentially a pawn for the music industry to push Nicki Minaj out. So make sure you check out that video. But the point I wanted to make is that bad experiences she's had with artists like Cardi B after Motorsport, and the also frosty and somewhat confusing relations between Nicki Minaj and Megan Thee Stallion following their summer collaboration Hot Girl Summer, have understandably made Nicki Minaj a little reticent towards collaborating with some female rappers. And though she has had very successful female rap collaborations with Doja Cat, make sure you check out my video on the Say So remix going #1, which was really exciting, and also with Bia with Whole Lot of Money remix, and check out my video reacting to and breaking down Whole Lot of Money remix. Things can get slightly odd when it comes to Nicki Minaj and female rappers asking her for a feature. I say that because it's starting to give the impression amongst the barbs, though this is up for debate, that some female rappers do appear to want to only use Nicki Minaj's name for a feature, and they switch their energy if they don't get one. So if they don't quite get what they want from Miss Minaj, they can somewhat change their tune and get a little bit bitter and a little bit mean, as we saw kind of happen with rapper Baby Tate recently, and also Erica Banks, who somehow involved herself into this and then tried to uninvolve herself with a public statement. But nevertheless, the damage was done, and both of them came across as quite thirsty for a feature and disingenuous in their love for Nicki Minaj. So then, why is a feature from this woman in such high demand, even nearly 15 years after her debut into the music industry? Stick around for the rest of this video to find out my thoughts, and like I said, make sure that you leave a comment, like this video, and subscribe if you like what I'm talking about. So let's get into what I believe is the first reason why Nicki Minaj is so important to female rappers when they're looking for features to boost their profile at the start of their career or in the early stages. And that is that Nicki Minaj is a unique female rapper. She has been active and prominent consistently, heavy on the consistently, for over a decade, and she is now competing with the very same artists she influenced to rap, and therefore a feature from her has only increased in value. So Nicki Minaj is still the highest selling and most followed and engaged with female rapper. Whether or not they like to admit it, Nicki Minaj is the influence and muse for this entire generation of female rappers. I was listening to various female rap playlists on Spotify, and I was taken aback by how often you can hear Nicki's flows, cadences, mannerisms, stylistic signatures in pretty much all of the girls' flows. And that's not shade, a lot of them have been quite open and vocal. So it shows that whether it's an active homage or to show that they can compete with her and are different enough to deserve our attention, the girls recognize the importance of laying a verse side by side to Nicki Minaj, and they will do the most to try and get that opportunity. Now, because Nicki is an OG, she does give advice and support to every female rapper she works with. And this can be very beneficial to a female rapper on the rise and new into the industry. Megan confirmed that Nicki helped her reorder the verses on Hot Girl Summer. Though they didn't release their collaboration, UK rapper Miss Banks did confirm that Nicki did help improve her lyricism and flow and encourage her to pack more power into her verses. And rapper Bia, who recently collaborated with Nicki on Whole Lotta Money remix, confirmed that when she went into the studio with Nicki, she gave her tough love and inspired her to push her pen even harder. Make sure that you check out my video on why Nicki Minaj should mentor new female rappers, because it essentially encaptures all of that. Nicki has a lot to offer in terms of knowledge and expertise that lots of female rappers do want to get their hands on, and it would make sense why you'd want to run to the GOAT first and foremost, because why not go to the best to ever do it? So above all then, although Nicki Minaj has been in the industry for a solid 14 plus 15 years, she's still highly sought after because of that exact reason. She's still in the game. Now, if you compare that to female rappers that perhaps maybe inspired Nicki to rap, you know, from the 90s and around that period, late 90s, they don't quite have the same feature value. Probably because they're not as visible and active in the way that Nicki Minaj is. And I think it's important that we recognize that and understand the logical reason why approaching Nicki Minaj for a feature is gonna hit far more than reaching into the past and approaching female rappers that haven't been active or charted successfully for decades. So on to the second point of why so many female rappers find a Nicki Minaj feature to be so important and why they go so hard to try and get one. And this is that if you play devil's advocate, some of these feature requests are somewhat manipulative. So I said on Twitter the other day, and I will say it again, the issue is that the rap girls know from the inside that Nicki Minaj is disrespected, and so they think think that by being nice to her and giving her what she deserves as a bare minimum, she should give them a platform that they haven't earned or worked for yet. So this relates back to that Nicki hate train conversation that I mentioned at the start of the video, and the ongoing Nicki Minaj problem that the industry has had ever since. Make sure you check out my video on why after the hate train hip hop has a Nicki Minaj problem, where I went to great extent to explain the ramifications and consequences upon not just for the hip-hop culture as a whole, but the specific niche subgenre of female rap because of what happened to Nicki Minaj and how disrespected she was. This ultimately goes back to this issue of entitlement, and that is what you'll hear the Barbs, Nicki Minaj's fans, talk about a lot. The rap girls, some of them, feel entitled to a Nicki Minaj feature because they are aware that within the industry, Nicki hasn't been getting the respect and flowers that she deserves. So, some of them approach Nicki Minaj asking for a feature as if they are doing her a favor by asking for one and by naming and mentioning her in their press and as part of their come up. But in reality, if you play devil's advocate and you get a little bit pragmatic and cynical, they'd really like access to her fan base. And the fact of the matter is that is where artists get in trouble for pandering to the Barbs, because it appears that they recognize that Nicki has got the most strong, largest and most active fan base in hip-hop, and most definitely within the female rap's niche, and they want a piece of that pie. If you check out episode number 4 of my podcast, Clout is Not Currency, where I talk about the business of hip-hop, I discussed how Doja Cat has had to field many different accusations from Barbs that she's just pandering to them and isn't a real fan of Nicki Minaj. Ironically, Doja already has a Nicki Minaj feature, has had a Nicki Minaj feature for a while with Say So Remix. So that idea doesn't necessarily hold water in my opinion, but it just goes to show, and the reason why I talked about it in the podcast is to highlight the fact that this is something that people have recognized as an issue. Now, in my view, a rapper that really has love for Nicki, talks about Nicki, shouts out Nicki, but doesn't quite get their feature yet, doesn't have to go sour towards her. And in my opinion, this is the difference between Baby Tate and, let's say, Asian Doll. So these are two rappers who have been very vocal about Nicki Minaj being an inspiration to them. They've both had acknowledgements from Nicki, but neither of them have had a feature yet. Now, whereas Asian Doll is happy to wait her time and hasn't changed her tune towards Nicki Minaj in the 5+ years that she has been active in the mainstream, and I'd say just bubbling under the mainstream, Baby Tate threw a tantrum recently because she was hurt that Nicki Minaj had not yet responded to DM requests to collaborate, and also the fact that Nicki Minaj was following another rapper, Cuban Doll, but wasn't following her. Now, as strange as that sounds, that is real, that is really what happened, and those are the reasons that Baby Tate gave for speaking out and venting on social media as she did. You can also, compare Asian Doll with Bia. Bia did get a remix with Nicki Minaj eventually. She got her verse with Whole Lotta Money remix, but she had been sending Nicki DMs for years with no response. But she never switched up and she stayed consistent in her standing. That inconsistency that a lot of the rap girls who asked for a feature show suggests that maybe their intentions just weren't that genuine and they were entitled. Now, this isn't something that is universally, held across the Barbs. You do have fans of Nicki Minaj who, much like Lato mentioned at the start of this video, think that people are being overprotective about Nicki. And I understand, once you look at the hate train and everything that happened with Nicki, why people would be so overprotective. And I recommend that you check out my video on the barbs and the trauma and the chaos within the fan base, because it shouldn't be taken lightly that everything that happened with the hate train really affected people who love this artist, and myself included. That entire hate train is what made me passionate enough to start this YouTube channel talking about Nicki Minaj and talking about female rap culture. Ultimately, if you really are a fan of Nicki Minaj and you haven't quite managed to get your feature yet, that shouldn't mean that you then turn against her and start acting sus-like just because you didn't quite get what you want. And that's why I just want it to be at least put out there that there is a very real possibility that a lot of these girls do know what happened with Nicki behind the scenes, and they think that, well, she's vulnerable, so I can get in there, get that brand equity, boost my profile, and she should be grateful. But as time has shown, that is not the case, and you run the risk of coming across entitled, and as Erica Banks found out the hard way, find yourself blockiana. And now Nicki is not gonna work with you. Not everybody's gonna get the redemption that Carisha and JT got. But a lot of girls find themselves fumbling their bag with Nicki before they've even had a chance to get on her radar, because they get on her radar for the wrong reasons, and that is complaining and being ungrateful and entitled, which is just never gonna fly with the GOAT. Now, as my third and final point, this isn't so much a reason why the girls approach Nicki for a feature so often, but more something that I've noticed, and this really ties back to comments Nicki made in her recent interview with Joe Budden, talking about her market share and how much equity she should be getting for the amount of charity she does. So in a nutshell, a lot of these rap girls, by hitting Nicki up in the DM and, you know, tweeting and telling the barbs to tell Nicki that they want a feature, they're not necessarily asking Nicki to work, they're more asking for charity. And that is really what comes across when you're asking a woman worth $100 million to do work via the DM. You know, Nicki told us, you know, I think it was back in 2015, she said, I just got $250,000 for a verse, hit her. And we can only imagine that in 2022, that 250 is probably more around the 500K mark or plus. So why do rappers think that a feature verse request in the DM from the queen of rap is going to get a response? Why not pay and go through the proper channels? Now, I love the fact that Nicki brought this up in her interview with Joe Budden, because she's right. Where is her equity and where is her percentage share for all of the careers that she's expected to support on her back? And if you look at things from the perspective of Nicki Minaj, especially everything I said in that first point on the fact that she's still active, you know, nearly 15 years into the game, is there really a value exchange for Nicki Minaj by doing all of these features with female rap rookies? And this ties to a wider theory that I have about one particular major label. I don't want to get into any issues around defamation, libel, nothing like that. So I'll just say one major label that has been notorious for signing female rappers. I have a theory that they didn't want to lose the market share that Nicki has over female rap, not just as a rapper, but also as a potential label executive. So in a sense, they could be seen as an anti-competitive, you know, as in to stifle the competition, to tied up all of the female rappers that Nicki could have signed, and controlling their access to budgets and features through the fact that they control the money. And that probably explains why a lot of female rappers may have to consult the DM and can't access Nicki through proper management channels because their label might not support it. Now, that is just a working theory. Tell me if you guys would like me to get into that a bit more and talk about that theory. I can definitely do a follow-up video and just discuss my thoughts on that. I'll probably put that onto Patreon because it's quite a it's basically a conspiracy video. So I definitely want to put that out there for the die-hard fans of female rap culture, because I think it's quite important. But let me know if you'd like me to cover that. But that in a nutshell really just stood out to me. You know, why are you asking the queen of rap to collaborate with you over social media and over the DM and expecting a response? Now, someone like me, I don't have any industry contacts. I have no industry budget. I have no management in that way. I can't access Nicki Minaj except for with my social media. That makes sense, okay? I'm a fan. She's active. But if you are in the industry and you know that this lady costs for a feature and you don't have the budget, keep it cute and understand that she's doing far more for you than you are for her in that moment. And that's just my thoughts on that. So to conclude my video on why a Nicki Minaj feature is so important to female rappers, it makes sense that a Nicki Minaj feature is highly coveted. She is the biggest and the best female rapper alive with an incredible fan base. However, requests for features from Nicki are not always genuine, to play the devil's advocate, or are not always made through the appropriate channels where Nicki can be paid for the value that she brings. It seems that Nicki is expected to support all other female rappers above being supported and compensated herself, and that doesn't really look that fair. So I also wanted to raise a point in conclusion on how this relates to her male counterpart, Drake. Drake also does features with upcoming artists, but I would argue that in his case, these artists are not being signed and groomed by an entire industry machine to look like, sound like, and take his entire brand. These features almost always benefit Drake by giving him a new sound to tap into and a new generational market of listeners. As Nicki owns the biggest female rap fan base and is the style others copy, these collaborations almost always come at her expense. And that's really where I think this conversation ends, and why, although it makes sense why a female rapper would really want a Nicki Minaj feature, it's also important to remember that due to Nicki's unique position within the industry, it's probably unlikely that the value exchange is going to be mutual, and as a result, the girls need to keep it quiet, keep it cute, and keep it grateful. I'll say as an additional point, you know, to artists like Baby Tay, the fact that Nicki has acknowledged you has already put you on the radar of her fan base. But the fact that Nicki will not acknowledge you any further because you disrespected her is going to take you right off that radar. So whatever attention Nicki giveth, she can take it away, and you don't even need to have a feature to get exposure through Nicki Minaj. A mere mention, like, interact can be massive for your career. And I think it's important that more female rappers remember and ultimately respect that. So what do you think? Why do you think a Nicki Minaj feature is so important for female rappers? Make sure that you like this video, comment, and subscribe, and join the No Ghostwriter community on Twitter, Instagram, and on Patreon to take the discussion further and even deeper, and to get access to exclusive content. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I've been your host and presenter, Blessing Makosha, aka Big Money B, because I'm focused on cheddar, I'm focused on cheese, and I don't let a bum chick get a touch up on me. See you in the next video. Bye.